refer back to it. And I'll kind of walk through this. We only have an hour, so I don't want to overwhelm you. So I'm going to focus on the important things that people utilize most. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first and foremost, this is your dashboard. So in order to run campaigns, there's a couple things that you have to have. A lot of these are driven through social media channels. So I'm going to my name, I'm going to settings. And what you have to have connected here on the back end is you have to have your Facebook profile connected. Okay. You're going to see that there are two different Facebook settings. There's a post scheduler and there's an ads manager. When you connect one, you're actually connecting both. And you are going to log in with your Facebook login credentials. Now, this posting will not take place on your personal account. When you log in, if you know Facebook, you have a business page, which you have to have. If you don't have a business page, none of this is going to work from a posting or advertising standpoint. Okay, you have to have a Facebook business page. Okay, it'll see your business page and it'll ask you which page you want to log on. And if you have an Instagram account, it'll ask if you want to post there. If you have a Twitter account, then you can connect that as well, because you can post on all those social media channels. You don't post on your personal pages, you're going to post on your business page. Okay. If you're going to run an advertising, you're actually not going to post it on any pages, but it will recognize that you are a business and you're allowed to run advertising. We'll kind of look at that, but I want to make sure that you have to connect those accounts or it won't work on the back end. Okay. And come back out to campaigns. And also, in order to run a paid ad, you're going to have a credit card on file. So it'll ask you to provide a credit card because you have to pay for your advertising. KW doesn't pay for your paid advertising. We're going to start here all the way in the end, which are called social posts. Social posts are free, right? So it's just like posting a notice on your Facebook business page, okay? And the nice thing about the social posts is that KW, the marketing department, provides what are quick posts for you to add directly to your business page, or you could create your own, but sometimes less is more. And if they've created something nice for me, why don't I just use that, right? So if you come to the social post page, you're going to see a schedule. You can schedule out your your posts, right? I could get on a Sunday and say, hey, here's the things I want to post this week. Once a day, I want something to go out. So I can actually schedule them by day, right? On the right-hand side, I see what are called quick posts. If I hit the little shuffle button, I'll see that there are different versions of quick posts. And if I just happen to see if there's any particular one that I like, that I want to post, I can actually click on it. Okay, and if I click share, it's going to show me what the post is going to look like. On the right-hand side, you're actually seeing what the post is going to look like on your business page. You see that Facebook dive says it's my business page. So this is the exact thing that's going to go up. On the left-hand side, I have the ability to edit that post, right? So if I wanted to edit any of the text that KW's already crafted for me, I could change that if I wanted to, okay? This is a quick post. So I wouldn't add additional images like you will on a listing, which I'll show you here in a minute. I may just leave it at this one picture that they've provided, okay? I'm going to have my legalities. It's going to post my office logo will show up there. I have to have each office is independently owned and operated. That has to be on there. And then it's going to ask me when do I want to schedule the post. Do I want to schedule it or do I want to publish immediately? That just means as soon as I hit publish, it's going to go directly to my page. If I want to schedule it, I can go to the calendar. And I can pick which day and at which time I want this to show up on my page. So again, thinking about leveraging time, if you schedule an hour on Sunday and you say, hey, I want one post to go out every day this week at different times, 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock, or whatever that looks like, I can schedule that and it'll go out on the given time for the particular week, okay? Like I said, which pages do I want it to go to, right? I have a couple of pages that I am administered, right? I have my office page, I got my business page, and I've got the region page. For you guys, you're probably just going to have a solo business page. And then you're either going to schedule a post on the upper right-hand side because I'm scheduling it, or I'm going to publish the post immediately because I want it to go right now. So if I just click publish post, then I will put that and that'll automatically go to my business page. And if I pull up my business page, 1 second. I got too many things going on at one time. Computer's running really slow. Oh, wrong page. Sometimes when you have too many pages, it can get busy too. All right, didn't post yet. You got to get, even though you publish immediately, it may take a couple minutes or two to catch up on the back end. Has got through this approval process on Facebook, because they do approve all the ads and everything that kind of goes up. So once that comes up, I'll bring that back up so you guys can see what that looks like once it's live. So any questions? Oh no, something happened. What happened with my page? I'm not exactly sure what went wrong there.
I posted something yesterday, David, and it took a while for Facebook to post it.
Did you do a quick post or did you do a custom created post?
I did a custom created post, but it still took Facebook a
Yeah,
while.
well, Facebook. So when you do a custom created, so was it an ad or was it directly to your
No,
business
it's
page?
something I posted on Facebook, but it just took
Right,
a
but
while for it to
to your
show.
business, yeah, to your business page.
It was actually to my personal page.
Well, you're all right. So you're saying it was a Facebook, so it wasn't something you ran through
It
command.
was something that happened in command.
Got
Yeah.
it, got it, got it. That's what I
I
was trying.
think Facebook has just got it, maybe has a glitch. I don't know.
Yeah, I just posted one like literally 30 seconds ago, David, and it worked.
Oh,
So
Maybe I'm not sure what I missed when I clicked that post there. What's the problems when I do things live in class? URL should represent a URL. So I don't know what's wrong. I may have to check my connections on the background. So I'm going to cancel that. I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe I missed something, but okay. I have to check my, it's telling me it looks like there's something wrong with my connections. So I have to check my connections. But anyways, that's straightforward and how easy it should be. But sometimes you have to refresh your connections on the back end, and I'm not sure why it's not seeing my Facebook page, but I'm not worried about it. I can go back and refresh that later. But Ted, you're saying you just posted something and went straight up. So I just might need to refresh my Facebook connection on the back end, which I could simply go to settings, and I'll disconnect and reconnect my business page. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that in this class. So let's go back to campaigns. Before I jump from that, any questions on the social post? Understanding that the social post goes directly to your business page. Pretty straightforward. It's clear. Do you guys like that those quick posts are there for you? Kind of stems the tide of having to create something, right? You can also access quick posts. There. You can access quick posts directly from your dashboard. You'll see them right here on your home screen. And the nice thing what I like on the dashboard, if you scroll to the bottom, there's additional training. So while you've got this class and you've got me in front of you right now, it tells you how to create an ad, how to create a social post, how to pause and start a campaign, which we're going to start here in a second. But that training is there. And then you can go to advanced tips, which kind of gives you additional more details of how to do different things at a higher level. So there's a lot of information right at your fingertips if you just kind of scroll around and look a little bit. So now let's talk about paid advertising, because this is the one that people probably find the most sexy and want to utilize the most, and also lacks the most understanding a lot of times. So again, you have to have a Facebook page connected, your business page, and then you would actually have to have a credit card on file. So underneath payments, you're going to make sure you have a card on file. Because what essentially is happening here is if I was running an ad directly on Facebook, a paid ad, right? Understanding that a paid ad will not show up on your business page. It goes out into the ether, right? It goes out into the social verse where people will see it because it meets a certain set of criteria that they should be showing up in their feed. So it's not a boosted post, it's paid advertising, because it's actually better. When you do that on Facebook, they charge you for as long as you've run it or whatever your spend was up to the dollar amount that you set. Okay, Facebook can do that. Through KW, if you say, hey, I'm going to run this campaign for 5 days and I'm going to spend $10 a day, so that's going to be $50. You're going to get charged upfront $50. KW is going to take that money and they're going to directly pay Facebook. Now, KW does not take a nickel, not a penny, not a dime. They take that money and it directly goes to Facebook. Okay, it's important to know. A lot of times when you pay people to do advertising for you, you're paying a surcharge. So that's why when you hear about dollar spends or 50 cents a lead or $2 a lead or $3 a lead, it's because we're getting more production out of our leads because we're not taking any money. We're not paying anybody to run these ads for you. So nobody's taking 30, 40, 50% of your spend to manage the leads. You're doing it on your own. So you come in here and say, okay, let's do a social ad. Now I'll tell you, it's going to ask you for different things that you want to do. You're going to get the most bang for your buck to advertise a listing. Okay, either attracting buyers, but I typically will do advertise a listing or attract buyers. Okay, either way, you're advertising a listing for sale. If you get into events or brand awareness, non-listing related things, the attraction rate goes way down, right? Because you're having a very specific audience. If somebody would want to go to a buyer awareness or first-time buyer seminar, maybe I was doing an event for that, you're going to have a very few percentage of the marketplace that wants to do that. So don't be turned off if you don't have any engagement or little engagement at all. Your highest levels of engagement for lead capture is going to come through advertising listings. That makes sense, right? People want to see properties. So you're going to give it a name, test. We're going to say it's advertising. I have the ability now, because I have all these accounts connected, to either run through Facebook and Twitter, or Instagram. I traditionally will do Facebook and Instagram together, okay, to create my campaign. All right, click create campaign. Now, where it's going to be different, the layout will be similar to that quick post, but what will be different is that we don't yet have any default content like a quick post because we haven't told it what we want to show yet. So let me just kind of go in here to a listing. Okay, Ted, do you have any active listings, or does anybody on the call have any active listings?
Let me pull one up.
Trish, you got one for?
I don't have one now. I just sold.
Okay.
You could do, see if 4813 West Norfolk Road pulls up.
Is it active?
It's pending now. Yeah, it's right there.
So you see, now do take notice that this is outside of Northern Virginia where I do practice, and there's these properties in Florida. This is a national MLS in our back end. So when you're typing in looking for properties, you're going to find your specific property, because we see everything around the country inside of our own system that are KW listings from this side of things. All right, so we go in here, and it's going to take the first picture from the MLS listing and make that the primary photograph. Okay, you're going to have these little, if you haven't done this before, you're going to get this little guided balloon, which will be walking you through how to do everything. I don't need that because I'm giving you the tour right now. I don't need Gary to give me a tour. I'm doing the tour. So the pictures will show up there. The text from the listing will pull through. Now, remember, this is an advertisement, all right? And you have up to 250 characters. It's going to cut off at 250 characters of whatever the agent's description was in the MLS. So you're going to want to go in here and modify this to make sure that it fits the description, and it's a Facebook ad. So it should be shorter than an MLS description, right? And you have the ability to add emojis. Okay. I don't personally care how you feel about emojis. right? I know how agents are, I don't like them. That's fine. It doesn't really matter what you like because this isn't about you, right? This is about the consumer. Ted likes it when I get direct. It's about the consumer. It's not about you. Right? The consumers have spoken, right, Ted? And what do the consumers like?
Emojis.
Yeah, she beat me to
Consumers,
emojis.
consumers like emojis. So you go through here and you get, maybe you take your fire emoji, right? Add that in, or I take my heart emoji, right? I add that in, and I have the ever popular look emoji, right? Or obviously a house emoji, whatever that looks like for you. Now, you'll notice that they're all populating to the end, right? You can move those around. You can copy and paste. Right. You can put them where they need to be. You can put the up and down arrows, price times. Have fun with it. Don't go overboard, right? The emojis should not outnumber the amount of words that are in a particular description. There, and also, you don't necessarily want to just have one emoji. You try to find the balance and the description to be cute and fun with what your description might look like. But do use the emojis, okay? Then there's a headline which shows up here. So typical headline, right? This is not a lie. Won't last. Or come home to this pool. You got 25 characters on it. And you'll notice when I'm making these changes, they're happening in real time on the right-hand side, right? So you're always going to have a preview of what you've done and what is that going to look like to the general public, which is nice. Now you've got an additional description down the bottom, and it's kind of going to give you some, you could be coming home to this, or schedule a private tour with me today. I can say, hey, use that suggestion, and it'll populate in, or you could type in there whatever you like. And yes, you also have the ability to use emojis. You're laughing at me, Trish. Now, while I'm making these updates on the right, I'm making them based off of a web feed. I can scroll and change, say, hey, show me what this would look like if somebody was looking at it on their mobile, or show me what this looked like if this was on Instagram. So you can change the filter based off of where you were going to paste this campaign and what connections you have to see what it looks like. Now, I will tell you, and I might recommend this, and Ted, tell me if I'm wrong, if you're doing a story, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, I might recommend running that ad separate, because the way that the pictures display are different and they get truncated and they format a little bit better if you're using storyboards versus just squares that social media, Facebook allows you to have. So you kind of have to put some thought that, hey, where am I going to run this and what's it going to look like? And if you do it all encompassing, it may not come across, it won't come across the same way in all platforms. So understand the storyboards are more long in display. Facebook social medias are more square in display.
Yeah, I agree with you, David, by the way.
Okay.
I second that.
So now we have media. So remember what I told you is that the first picture populated when we created this listing. The first picture from the MLS automatically came in. You have the ability to add more pictures, and I'm going to recommend that you do so. The reason that you're going to do so is because Facebook is going to look at the performance of your ad, and it will change the pictures if certain pictures are performing better from an engagement standpoint, if you have loaded additional pictures. So if I click this add more, what you will actually see are all the listing pictures that are already there in the back end. And you can go in and you can pick the kitchen. Okay, so I want to upload that. I have to do one at a time. Okay. I do recommend that square works well. Some people put the wide nines in. I like the squares, but you're going to have to, it tells you that's best place for most, but knowing where you're going, right, here's another 9:16. If I was doing a story, that's why I said it makes a difference how you're running your ad and where you're placing this ad. Reset image, add image, and then you'll see that's loaded there. So the more you can add up to 5, I think, and it'll scroll through, and then Facebook will use the image that is enticing the most amount of clicks based off of what you've done. So that's always the best. You can also upload a video if you have a video. you can load video. I haven't run a whole lot of Facebook ads with videos, but you do have the ability to do that as well. And you can add that into your image carousel where you would upload that from your computer. You could also upload more pictures. Or that was video, sorry, images. If you had something from your desktop that wasn't in the MLS, you could upload a different picture as well. You don't have to just use the ones that are in the MLS. Configure the post. Where's it going to go? All right, well, we said we want it. Now, you're not actually posting on a page here. Remember, we told you that. But it's still going to ask you which page you're running through. I'm going to run it through my Facebook. No, sorry. I don't know why this is weird. Why that's doing that. Look at some of my settings. So you're going to go ahead and say, I want it on my feed. I'm not doing a story this time. Okay. I am going to tell it to run it through my David Donaldson Realtor page. Okay. Then it says, all right, what button labels are showing up on here? Learn more always works best. Unless if I was running a class or something, I might do a sign up. But learn more for anytime you're advertising a listing or some sort of, typically is your best option there for this button. Then it's going to say, well, if I click if I click learn more, where's it going to take them to? Oh, great question. So what would I put in here? What do you guys think you should put in here as a link? Any ideas?
I mean, if you had a website that might display the listing itself, like I had bought Chrissia Court, and I had all my virtual tours at Chrissia Court for my listing, www.chrissiacourt.com, or you could send it to your website, your own website, especially if you have landing pages on your website, right?
Well, and it's interesting that you say if you have a landing page on your website, but here's what I'm going to tell you. You all have landing pages on your website. Okay. This is not a situation where you need to go into listen. Oh, I'm not seeing it because it's pending. That's funny. So I can see pending in my MLS or my properties when I'm choosing them, but when I go to my website, pendings aren't going, they disappear. Let me just kind of use a different property example. So let's just say that this was the property here. Give it a second to load. It said that this Arcadia Court is the actual property. When I click on Arcadia Court, this essentially is the landing page on my website. And what you would want to do is actually go to the listing on your own website and then grab that domain. Because that's when they click through that learn more, this is where they're going to land. They're going to land on this listing page for this particular property, where they can contact you, they can schedule a tour, or if they decide that this isn't the property for them, they could then go and search for other properties. So that's why I don't like sending to a single landing page, Trish, just because once I'm there, all I learn about is that one thing. I send them to the landing page that's embedded in my website for all listings, then they can go look at other properties and create stickiness.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Now, if I'm doing an event, right, and then a landing page might make sense, right, or an evite to register for a particular list. But if I'm advertising a listing, I'm going to drive them to the landing page that's on my website, which is the listing page. So I wouldn't use a landing page if I'm advertising a listing. And that's whether I'm advertising a listing for a price change, a new listing, an open house, or, hey, have you seen this? It's a great investment opportunity. If I'm doing a listing, I'm driving back to the listing on my website. I'm not going to do a custom landing page. Now, under audience, you have the ability to create a custom audience. And for now, I'm going to skip over target my database, but I'm going to talk about targeting an audience on Facebook. Now, it's going to default to where the property listing is. But remember, I can advertise anywhere in the United States or anywhere from Facebook, right? So I can actually go in here and I don't want to say I don't want to advertise in Portsmouth. Maybe I want to advertise in Seattle because maybe I know that a whole bunch of people are moving from Seattle to this area. So I would advertise around Seattle, Washington, right? There we go. So you don't have to advertise just around where that property is. You may want to, but you may also want to run it in Seattle. You can do that too. Now, what you can't do is go into a specific neighborhood or territory, right? I can only go down to a radius of miles. So I can go as low as 15 and as high as 50. We know how 50 miles in Northern Virginia is pretty vast, right? So typically 50 miles would go from Arlington to Gainesville, but typically you're not living in Gainesville or looking in those two areas. So I narrow that field. If I'm living in Kansas, 50 miles might not be a bigger deal. I might spread it out some more. Southern Virginia might be, the 50-mile radius may not be a bigger deal when I'm advertising. So you'll know your marketplace is a little bit better for that audience, for the radius. But you can't harvest into a particular zip code or neighborhood. So next, what you can do is target your audience. So you guys have all used Facebook before and understand that Facebook has a series of interests where people have told Facebook what they like. So here's a full list of all those interests that are on Facebook. And some categories make sense and some don't. I wish there was a better way to filter them, but this is what Facebook has provided for us. It's not a command thing. This is Facebook. Facebook said, here's access to all of the interests, but we're not going to strip these down anyway for you. But so I happen to know that there's a couple of real estate related ones in here, but I would recommend you go through here and see, hey, what makes sense that I may want to get used to utilizing. But I happen to know there's a do-it-yourself, which is called DIY, right? And I could say, hey, this might be a property. People that are into home remodeling projects or follow DIY may be interested in this property. Or I might say, hey, people that have told that they like Zillow, I know that I can go ahead and say, hey, anybody that said they follow Zillow, I put that in there. Or if I knew that this was a luxury property, I would type in luxury. My screen locked up on me. My internet is stretched thin today. My bandwidth is low. Hope nobody else is having internet issues today. All right. Anyways, you kind of saw the list there, right? Luxury is one, architecture is another. So I might recommend you guys just kind of take some time. The first time you're going to build out a campaign, just plan it out in advance and kind of start walking through there and think about how you're going to build your advertising. Let's throw some other quick information in here real quick because I had to reload.
No sé, pues es que yo le hice de mala gana mucho escándalo.
All right. All right, so let's go back down to the bottom here. We run our Facebook settings, right? That's where we were. No, we were in lead settings. No, Facebook, sorry. Getting ahead of myself. So we set the radius, we set the location of where we're going to do. Now you would go under lead settings. So the lead settings is basically saying, hey, when these leads come in, okay, to your account, because what's going to happen, they're going to come directly into your campaign for you, okay? Do you want to auto tag them, right? What tags are you using in your database? So if you said, hey, these are coming from Facebook and you have a Facebook tag, then maybe you tag them Facebook, okay? Or are they a lead, right? or the Facebook, whatever you called your capture, right? Or maybe you create a new tag for this specific campaign, Facebook ad 123 Main Street, right? It's good to know where the leads come from so you can get in more specific. That's up to you. And then when they come in, they're going to tag them. And then what happens next? Do I want to put them on a follow-up campaign? So I have a Facebook follow-up campaign that's in my database that we would have covered in the Smart Plans class that you would be able to choose from this to where they'll get automatically added to a campaign, which will send them a welcome email, which will send them a text message, which will prompt me to make a phone call, right? And what you're not seeing here is a lead route option that if I was on a team, that I would be able to lead route these. Ted, did they turn lead routing on with this release or not yet?
It should be on.
Well, I'm not on a team. I'm not on a team, so I didn't know if that was live yet. The lead routing option, because there was some talk that they might not release that initially.
To my knowledge, it's on.
Okay, so if you're on a team, then this will be a lead route, which basically would say, hey, which member of my teams is this going to go to, or how's that going to be processed? But I'm not on a team, so I can't set that example for you. All right, and then lastly is duration and budget, where you're going to set your spend and schedule this out. So this is really important to know. When you're doing an ad, Facebook has to approve it, and it takes up to 24 hours. So if you wanted to set up an ad to start today, you can't. So you always have to be planning out a day ahead. And what I recommend that you do is that you actually go 2 or 3 days ahead if you can and schedule it, just in case anything happens, because Facebook has been under a lot of scrutiny. Notice I say Facebook and not command. Facebook has been under a lot of scrutiny for their advertising practices. So you may think you have a perfectly legit and fine ad. They may flag it for some reason. And I've seen them literally sent in for permission, rejected, and then resubmitted and then approved. And there's no rhyme or reason for it, but that's Facebook. It's important to know that that's Facebook and not us, okay? So what I recommend is that you schedule these out a couple days in advance and say, hey, that I want this to start on such and such a date so that your approval comes in and you don't have to worry about it launching. That's what works best for me, and I think that's the best practice for you, okay? All right, and then below that is campaign budget. And Ted is telling me that lead routing is turned on, so that's great. All right, what are you gonna spend? So when you're running an ad, time matters. If you're gonna run an ad for less than 3 days, I'm gonna tell you not to bother. If you just wanna tell your clients that you ran an ad, that's okay, then run the ad. But you're not gonna get a whole lot of capture in 1 to 3 days because it's got to run through the process and algorithms and audience wise to kind of get out there. Facebook will tell you 10 days is the best. And I know you don't always have 10 days to run an ad. If you take a listing or a price adjustment, 10 days isn't a big deal. If you're advertising an open house, you don't want to advertise past the open house date. So you may be shortchanged there to run it like Wednesday through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday, where you may get 4 to 5 days out of it. That's just kind of where you're at with that. But if you're going to run it for 1 to 3 days, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you not to run it, but I'm going to tell you your performance metrics aren't going to be the best. So as long as you understand that, we're all good. Now, Facebook will apply your spend either per channel, okay? And what it's going to do is it will apply that. Let me turn something off here. Used to be another filter on here. It looks like it's gone. Like I said, because I'm only chose one channel, that's why. We gotta do something real quick. Oh, in the beginning when I set up, I just chose Facebook. Okay, that's why I'm not seeing it. If I had chosen Facebook and Instagram under this duration and budget, I would see another category here that asks me if I want to let Facebook adjust the spend. And basically what that is asking me is, if it's performing better on Instagram than Facebook, would you like me to allow Facebook to allot more money on the Instagram side versus the Facebook? So my answer is always going to be yes, because they're watching these things more proactively than I am, right? And they're going to see where they're, just like I told you earlier about the Facebook will alter based on the images that you show, which is better performance. Facebook will also spend the dollars where it's best to be applied if it's performing better on Instagram or Facebook. So there's a box here that I check that I allow them to adjust accordingly. versus just a flat out 50-50 split. That's just a best practice and recommendation. Now that is setting up a Facebook ad. What questions do you have around that? No questions?
That example was for a listing.
That was for a listing, yes. Did you have questions around any other types of advertising?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm just looking at the market that we're in now or was in, that I can't really see the purpose of spending extra money when the houses are selling itself at this time anyway.
That's a really valuable question. So the reason I tell you to advertise a listing, because when you're advertising a listing, right, you're attracting buyers, right? Whether the listing is yours or not, the buyers are going to assume that it is yours, and they're going to think that you're a resource for additional listings. And if it's people that are looking to sell their house, then they're going to think you're somebody who's selling houses in a particular area. So don't look at it as a finite game or incident where you're just advertising this one particular property and the results are only locked to this. If you advertise a listing, you could get a lead that, because more than likely the lead that you capture from this listing probably isn't going to be the buyer for this particular property, but might be the buyer for something else. So you're just using it as bait to draw them in and hope to convert them over to a client, right?
So you can advertise a listing that's not yours.
With permission, you can, yeah. So like typically if I'm doing an open house, it may not be my open house. Right. So Ted takes a lot of listings, or you partner up with someone in your office that's doing a lot of listings, and you get permission from them to advertise their listings. Or if you're doing an open house, you say, hey, great, I'm going to advertise that open house. Is that okay for you? They're going to say yes. Now you can't just go through here and just randomly advertise properties that aren't yours and you don't have permission to do that. But most agents that I know of are going to care if I spend money to help them sell their house. Ted, if I approached you and said, hey, Ted, you got this listing, it's an area where I'm trying to build business. Do you mind if I advertise it or if I hold it open for you?
Yeah, I'm not going to care.
Right. It's more eyes on it for you, right? You know the numbers. Numbers are, chances are that I'm not going to come out with a buyer, but I'm going to drive more traffic to your listing, right?
Yeah, David, I was gonna say too, like I actually ran an advertisement beginning of this month on this property, and I think I threw $20 at it, and we got 24 leads for 83 cents a lead. We got one pre-approved over to a buyer, or over to one of our buyer's agents. I got two that were already working with a realtor. Like 3 or 4 that are good contact infos, but they're higher up in the funnel, more of those nurtures. So we're just leveraging smart plans to kind of cultivate that relationship. But I mean, it's $20 and I got, at least one solid deal working now and, potentially 3 or 4 more.
You spent $20 on potentially $4,000 to $5,000 worth of business.
And then too, I was going to tell you, one of the other type of ads that I run, even in case I don't have listings, is I'll leverage like our KW website and I'll just go through, preset the filters for like a city. So I'll search like a city like Chesapeake,
Yep.
and then I'll filter by like open houses only. And then literally it's an evergreen ad that I can continuously run. The cost of the leads I've found to be a little bit more expensive than the listings, but nothing like crazy. Like you're talking $2 to $3 a lead. And I'll run those for like 10 days and it literally just drives into my website that updates in live time with all the open houses. So, there's a ton of buyers right now. You run an ad like that, you pick a couple stock images of some nice homes through like, or one of those royalty free image providers, or there's a lot of good ones, stock images and designs as well. Yeah, and just pick a couple images so it's a couple different homes as they scroll through. And he's showing you how to set those filters on your website.
There you go. So what I did was I just went to my website, as Ted mentioned, right? I went to create a search, and if I click the more button and I scroll down, I can say, show me open house only. So
yeah, you're on rentals.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you switched it over to rent. There you go.
There we go. So in this particular area, there's 2 homes that are
Yeah,
homeowner
I was
houses.
just saying, don't freak out about that because when I put those, it will update. And the thing is, most agents are putting open houses in on like Thursday and Friday for the weekend,
Right.
honestly. So you'll get more that populate, but it does update in live
Right,
time.
that's what I was going to say. Like today's Wednesday, right? So they're not in there yet. But if you went in and you created the search, so now you've got the search, or you copy this domain, right? Just like I put it in the property address. Now I'm just calling it a click through to Ashburn open houses. And that's a post that he can keep running because this page is going to keep refreshing as agents add listings each week. So the end of the week, so Monday, Tuesday is going to have the least amount. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's going to start to populate again, right?
Yep.
So that's another way.
I'll just say the other filter, which isn't that relevant right now because we're not seeing too many price reductions. But when the market does start to shift, you also have another filter right there where that open house filter is, which is price reductions in the last 7 days. So, I mean, you never know. You could have somebody out there just looking for a deal. You could switch it to that, and it's only going to show them homes that have had price reductions in the last 12 days. So, hey, looking for a deal in this crazy market, check out the price reductions in, Fairfax for the past, 7 days. And the cool thing is that updates in live time as well too.
And you would be running this ad on Facebook, or you're saying this is through command?
So we're running it on Facebook, but we're running it through command, right? So instead of going through Facebook and just running it directly through Facebook, command has some lead gen technology built in there to help maximize with our partnerships with Facebook and Google. It allows us to maximize our ad spend and to be more intentional about capturing leads. Right. So basically, like David said in the beginning, you'll want to go through your settings and make sure your Facebook accounts are connected. And then once you have those connected on the back end in your settings, you can just go right in here into campaigns and build out a paid social ad. And then you're leveraging the lead capture forms that auto populate and all that good stuff, which will increase your lead capture rate.
Now I'm looking at a property that might be a good investment opportunity for me around the corner.
Oh man, I was about to say that price point up there is.
Yeah, it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. So I prefer 2 2s, but I can rent that for $1,500 a month. I have to go take a look at that. So good questions. And Terrence, I appreciate you asking for clarity around the advertising and where these actually. So it is understanding that even though you're building the ad on the campaigns command side, it is going to Facebook. It's cheaper to do it through command than it is to do it directly to Facebook. And the reason that is because it's the law of numbers. You've got over 100,000 agents that are running ads on a regular basis, and Facebook recognizes us as one organizational structure, and we have more relevance in the Facebook universe. Whereas you, Terrence, may be a single business owner and a realtor, it looks at you as a single business, and your ad spend is going to be a little bit higher. So that's why this works. And Ted gave you some perfect examples where he spent $20 for 22 leads and one solid lead. And that's really what you're looking for, because you're going to get a 1 to 3%. 3% is high of people that will actually end up converting to doing business with you. So still, if you got one person out of 20 on a $20 spend, and that leads to a commission, which may be $4, $5, $10,000, that's well worth it, right? I mean, that's incredibly worth it. But here's the important thing to know, okay? When it comes to Facebook or anything else, I don't care how cheap or how good the campaign works for you, right? Ted ran that, he got 20 people. Now, he broke down the details for you, right? 2 have agents. 1's a solid buyer. 2 are at the top of the funnel, which means they're longer term nurtures, right? How do you think he knew that? Anybody? Trish, what do you think? Can't hear you.
Repeat the question.
So Ted got 22 leads. And when he broke down the list for us, he said, look, 1 is a qualified buyer that I'm going to work with. 2 are working with other agents. 2 are at the top end of the funnel, which means they're 12 to 18 months out. And the rest I haven't been able to connect with yet. How do you think he knew all that information about each of those people? He contacted, right. So I'm just saying, don't make it overcomplicated. He contacted them. The reason I point that out is because a lot of times people think these are magic beans, right? Just because somebody registers and comes in doesn't mean they're going to buy from you. You got to work for that. Because if they clicked on your listing and your ad, they've clicked on 15 others. The question is, who's going to call them first? And how regularly you're going to call them, right? If you call them one time and don't reach them, don't quit. Text them. Follow up with them. You have to be, Ted, of all those people, how many times did you, on average, you have to call somebody, follow up, or text them before they communicate?
Well, so I leverage the smart plans to do a lot of the scrubbing. I try to make the initial call within the first 30 minutes, just to be within the statistics from the Realtors Association. But really, I mean, that text message is going out within business hours instantaneously when that lead comes in because of the smart plan triggering automatically. I typically make calls the first like 5 days, and I'll make a call, leave a voicemail, make a call the next day, don't leave a voicemail. Third day, leave a voicemail if I don't get it. But usually by seven days, I'm pretty much leveraging the smart plans from there.
Awesome.
And that's the way I go.
The key then there is that he called them. And Jason, and the numbers don't lie, on average, it might take you 5 or 6 times to deliberately reach out to somebody to convert them.
Also, David, one other thing that I'll add to doing that is, you know, a lot of times because these auto-populating forms on Facebook, right, that number may not be the actual number of the person, but that email could be good. So the one benefit of calling them is, hey, you might find out that this number isn't David, but you know what? I don't know that this email is not David, and they haven't responded and said to stop emailing yet. So I'm going to continuously have them on that email drip campaign, a biweekly neighborhood nurture, right? We set all of our internet leads up on that because that's 24 touches. And part of the idea is just connecting with them, right? Because they're a cold lead. So we know if it's a listing, we know exactly what neighborhood that listing's in. So we're going to go ahead and subscribe them into that neighborhood and put them on a biweekly neighborhood nurture. So now we're leveraging that passively. And believe it or not, I've had a lead that was a year old on a biweekly neighborhood nurture from a listing ad on Facebook that finally responded 9 months later from a biweekly neighborhood nurture. So it does work. You just have to be intentional and be consistent.
And that was my point. I don't care how cheap the ad is, the lead, it's the follow-up. If you're not willing to follow up, if you're not going to put into work to call them, to text them, to put them on the smart plans, then don't waste the $20. That's a cold, hard truth. I come to you speaking as not just the regional technology trainer, but somebody who's been in the business for 14 years. I used to spend $2,000 a month for Boomtown, and part of a big chunk of that was advertising. And I was terrible at it. You know, I was terrible at it. And I used to say that these leads are no good. You know what was no good was my follow-up. I had a horrible follow-up plan. I would call them once, maybe, twice, hardly ever. Maybe send them an email. I was too busy. I was a solo agent where I didn't allow myself to do things in an organized, structured fashion. I was looking for buy now leads. They don't exist. They're a myth. You might get lucky, but they're a myth. If that's your plan to being successful in real estate, you're going to struggle. Systems, models, tools. Work with your PC coaches. Have a plan. Right? That's what I said. Today's class is a build on all the other classes that get you here. Smart plans, contacts, follow-up. What does that look like for you in your world? Talk to your market center tech trainers. Talk to your PC coaches. Get on a plan. Okay? There's no magic bullet in real estate. You can't hide from the telephone. Got to talk to people. Technology is nothing more than leverage. Make your life easier by doing, but the hard and heavy lifting still has to be done by you. And the heaviest thing you will lift every day is that cell phone. It's amazing how heavy a cell phone can weigh, isn't it, Ted? Mm-hmm. It's a heavy element. Well, listen, guys, it is 11 o'clock. I'm sorry for starting a couple of minutes late, but I appreciate you all joining me today. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, David. Quick question. When are you having training for newbies?
So we Jenny, which market center are you in?
Fairfax.
So we are wrapping up here at the end of this week, and we're going to take a break for the month of August. And then we will be kicking off our trainings the 1st of September. So are you at Fairfax Gateway or Fairfax Capital Properties?
Capital Properties.
So what I would tell you to do is reach out to Derek Stonisfer, who is the Market Center Tech Trainer in your office, and see when the next training classes are in August. But we will be doing more of these regional classes starting off again in September. We're rewriting some of the classes.
Okay, thank you.
And the same is for all of you. Reach out if you're in Falls Church, you get me. If you're in Kingstown, talk to Drew. If you're in Fredericksburg, talk to Shirley. If you're in Ted's neck of the woods, reach out to Ted, Terrence, or Andrea, or Ron, or Melissa. I know you're in my market center. Talk to your market center tech trainer and see what the training calendars and schedules look like. And remember, Ted put the previous recorded classes into the chat. So if y'all check chat, it's going to drive you to our YouTube channel, which is going to have all the previous recorded classes that you guys will find value in. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Later.